Hey all, this is 012Boku and
Everybody's favorite asshole until I show up.
Jarek, and we are coming at you again with another anime review of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Part 1 yet again, guys. Yes, we are on episode 12. All is one and one is all. Now, that may sound like the Three Musketeers quote, and for all we know, it very well could be, but it has a lot of significance in this episode, doesn't it, Jarek?
Indeed. And without all the French foppery as well.
Yes. Basically, what it is the Elrics show show up at Izumi Curtis's place, their master and teacher, right before because it does have a little bit of bearing on the episode, albeit a little small. Edward was dreaming of his dad, and I guess sorry, I'm mimicking Hohenheim's glare that he was giving Edward, and rather terribly. He was dreaming about that and told Alphonse he was dreaming of his father. They show up in Dublin, where they're right outside the Curtis butcher shop. Yes, Sig and Izumi Curtis own a butcher shop, and also should say Edward Elric, Romy Paku, Vic Mignogna, Alphonse Elric, Rie Kugamiya, Maxie Whitehead yet again for the voices. And all of a sudden, the door opens up and a bloody butcher knife comes out of nowhere to reveal Sid Curtis, who was voiced by Seiji Sasaki and Bob Carter. And he basically says, my, Edward, how you've grown, and crushes his head almost, and does the same thing to Alphonse, which Alphonse is like, no one's ever petted me like this since I became in this body of armor. And it's like, it's sad, but it's funny at the same time.
It's adorable.
It is very adorable. It is hard.
You know, for an empty suit of armor, he's still the master of cuteness.
It is. Well, I mean, if you wanted to sell... yeah, sorry about that. Gross. But anyway, yes, if you wanted to succeed in selling plush toys, I think Japan succeeded in selling plush toys of Al.
Indeed, I want my Onawu knight armor. It's so cute.
Quite. And so after Sid Curtis, introduces himself again to the kids, he calls to his wife Izumi, saying that the Elric shrimps are here. And then all of a sudden, as they're waiting by the door gets kicked in, sending Edward Elric flying. Alphonse is like shocked, standing behind the door, hoping to be hidden. And you have Izumi Curtis, voiced by Shoko Suda and Christine Outen, come out and get rather upset that Edward is a dog of the military. And as Edward slowly crawling his way back, Alphonse is like still scared because the teacher, red eyes and demon face and all, turns her attention to Alphonse. And then she says, oh, Alphonse, look at you, how you've grown. Holds out the hand, and then all of a sudden,
you flip soft.
Yep. And he gets basically judo thrown into the ground.
So the demon of mommyhood.
Yeah, so that was basically their introduction, and you can see this is why the Elrics basically fear Izumi Curtis quite so. All of a sudden, we cut to the next part of the story, where we're right into the meat of it, and they want to know if Izumi has any information on the Philosopher's Stone, to which she said she doesn't, and she was actually asked by a person who had a bit more information on it himself, and Edward and Alphonse actually got really excited about this, said who was it. They dropped the name Hohenheim. Alphonse is just in shock. Edward is pissed off because he blames his dad for what happened to their mother and with her dying. And this again, this episode's full of flashbacks. A flashback where Edward and Alphonse, as little kids, see Hohenheim leaving for one last time, and Trisha Elric, Yoshino Takamori, Lydia McKay is watching him leave, and they're just curious about where their dad's going. You can tell time has passed by in the flashback because Edward looks at an empty chair where their dad usually sits and says, where's dad where's dad gone? Why isn't he here? And, she's just like, your dad left. And then, Alphonse, being an innocent kid, turns around and says, well, when's he coming back? And then, Trisha Elric just shuts the cupboard door. There's a bit of an awkward pause where she's not making eye contact with him. And then she just sadly breaks it up by, tickling and attacking Alphonse. And that way, her defense mechanism, I would guess, for not telling the kids the truth or what she thought happened to their dad, I guess.
It's kind of a coping mechanism, if she keeps herself distracted, she can keep them distracted, hopefully give them, I kind of saw this with these kids I was babysitting back in the day. I used to babysit these 3 boys who were all the children of these African refugees. And their dad, of course, as they do, he went back to Africa with all the American money he made to be a big shot out in Africa. And I believe he was gone for at least 3 years, and they were stuck with their mom, who was like 500 pounds and had a really bad heart condition. And they would always be asking her, like, when's dad coming back? Are we going to see dad? Well, moms, as they tend to do, try to diffuse the situation, try to keep the kids' minds off of things and still give them the best childhood they can. It's basically what she was doing.
Pretty much, I can agree to that wholeheartedly.
And spoiler warning, if you're still going to school and you really want to impress your teacher, or maybe alternatively piss them off, depending on the situation, point out to them that that the name Hohenheim is a direct callback to one of the great philosopher kings responsible for advancing the art of alchemy in the ancient times, along with Paracelsus, and I forget who the third guy was. But yeah, Hohenheim was basically one of the great fathers of Western alchemy. I believe he was also one of the guys responsible for the idea of the Philosopher's Stone, using alchemy to create the titular Philosopher's Stone that holds the knowledge of the universe.
Yes, and basically, I didn't know that, and Jerick was a good wealth of knowledge at that part there, because I had either forgotten or maybe did not know it as deep as it as well, because I never put the 2 and 2 together. And I mean, as you see, as it continues, you have Trisha Elric succumb to her. They don't really say. Well, actually, they do. They mentioned that a pandemic swept through the village and killed a lot of people, and it got their mom, and their mom got sick and died from it. So Bird holds his father a grudge. There's a thing where Alphonse wants to diffuse that situation by saying, hey, we went on an adventure. We helped give birth to a baby in Rush Valley, or help the mother anyway, and supported her in the best way you can. And then you have Azumi Curtis say, yeah, there's nothing greater. There's no greater joy than bringing a child into this world. Which, after she says that with a complete smile, you see Sid Curtis off in the corner looking down, like, worriedly, as something odd has happened. And basically after that, there's a quick thing where Azumi hits Edward in the head, let's eat, and then the whole flashback with the Elric brothers and how they met Azumi continues. I'm gonna say I believe it's right outside Resin Bowl. It's where there was a bad rainstorm that year. I believe Trisha Elric, I think, had just died, and you have men of Resin Bowl trying to put up this dam with the water. The dam keeps breaking, water keeps coming over. Azumi and Sig are there.
Well, it's more of like an impromptu levee. Like they were stacking the sandbags to try to keep the water back.
Oh yeah, a levee. That's what it's called. Yeah, and like Azumi and Sig come up, and Azumi walks up to it. She does the whole transmutation without a circle by putting her hands together, puts it down, and builds a much higher wall to keep the water out. Both Edward and Alphonse see this, and as you can imagine, they want to get stronger within their alchemy, and all of a sudden they attack her, and basically are like swinging off her arms, spinning in circles. She's like hitting him away with a fist, and then they come up to her, call her an old lady, and they're like, she's trying to throw him back again, but they keep trying.
I'm hard of hearing. Could you please repeat that? We're sorry. I mean, would you please take us on as your apprentices, pretty lady?
Yeah, pretty lady. I like pretty lady in English instead of miss, because that's what Alphonse says in Japanese. He says miss, but in English it's like pretty lady, playing it up that, I didn't call you old, you're a nice.
And she's trying to swing him off her arm, and they're just swinging around, clinging to her, hoping to get her to convince him. And the guy, and she's like, "Don't you have any parents?" And this guy walks up, it's like, "Miss, actually, they don't have any parents." And then you see her whole face expression just change as she's looking at these two children, and she's like, "My, how I've gotten weak over the years."
Yeah, because she realizes probably from her own past misgivings that she feels bad for him, and she decides to take him on under one condition: they have to survive on this little tiny island that she and her husband just leave him on for an entire month. To where they're shocked by this, and she also just gives them one knife that they can use to kill and hunt for food.
And she also tells them no alchemy whatsoever.
Yep.
And they have 1 month to figure out the answer to a riddle. All is one is all.
Yep. And as you know, that the Elrics don't know how to handle this, and they are freaking out, lying there. They go the first couple days without eating anything or trying to eat anything. They don't know what to do. Try to hunt for a rabbit hilariously. They catch the rabbit. The rabbit's all tied up, and then they start to argue who gets to kill the rabbit. And then the rabbit's looking at him with the puppy dog eyes. It's starting to blush and play up the fact, please don't kill me. And they're like, I don't want to do it. No, you do it. Well, I made the trap. Well, I don't want to do it. You do it.
And then while they're distracted, a fox comes and takes the rabbit.
Yeah.
So of course they chase the fox, and then when they catch up to it, they see that it's giving the rabbit to its cubs, and the cubs are eating it. And of course, once they start ripping into it, it's like, oh my God, why would you do that?
Yeah. Let's go fish instead. And then when they're out by the edge of the ocean wanting to know how to fish, they're sitting there. They're like, or no, maybe not ocean's the right word. Lake is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Where they're out in the middle of this lake on this little island. They're trying to fish, and then they realize, hey, I've got nothing to fish. So, they're still struggling, going days without eating. There's rain, there's wind, there's all these sort of problems. Edward and Alphonse are just complaining, saying they're hungry, not knowing what to do. There's one afternoon where it's really hot. Edward's sitting there looking lifeless in his eyes. Alphonse is on his side sleeping. And then all of a sudden, Edward looks over, pretends Alphonse is a piece of meat, literally bites into him hard, doesn't make him bleed, but when Alphonse shoves Edward off, he's like, what are you doing? He's got this giant indent and bite mark in his arm.
And then he just he shrugs him off, and he's rolling on the ground, and he sees this line of ants, and he starts hallucinating them as chocolates.
Yep, and then he starts to eat the ants, which in English, Vic Mignogna just says it's gross, and in Japanese, Romy Packer says, oh, they're sour, and then, but it still ends up to a nice conclusion that I ate the ants, and I'm alive. If I didn't eat the ants, who knows if I'd be alive, but I ate the ants, and I'm still living. And then
after he eats them, he starts hallucinating. I imagine probably something inside the ants caused it, but he starts having this vision of the ants, the grass, the birds, and all the little creatures on the island with them in the middle of it. And he comes to this epiphany. He's like, if I had, I'm alive because I ate the ants. If I had died, then the ants would have eaten me, and in time they would have died, and my body would have become decomposed, would have been eaten by the plants. The rabbits would have eaten the plants. The whole circle of life thing.
Yeah. It's the circle of life.
Well, the real one, not the Disney version.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was there. I was going to do that anyway, even if you didn't say it. I was leading up to it before you started talking. I know. I was even thinking of it during the damn episode. I'm just like, it's the circle of life.
Hey, I'm just fucking with you, buddy.
Yep. And so they come to that conclusion, and then as soon as Edward and Alphonse know this conclusion in many ways, Edward has to explain it a bit more to Alphonse, because Alphonse fully didn't understand it. But then, Jarek just put, it's about how everything is interconnected and our universe is interconnected, and how even this island that they're on could become a mountain, And, it's the same throughout our universe and probably even all the multiverses. Everything is interconnected. And as soon as they understand that, they go out, they're able to hunt more. They actually kill the rabbit this time. They know how to fish, they're knowing how to take care of themselves. They learn how to make fire and all the good jazz that they need to know how to survive with their survival skills. And
oh my God, they become Boy Scouts. What toxic masculinity.
Indeed. And as you can imagine, it gets to the month. Izumi Curtis comes back, asks Edward and Alphonse, "What have you learned?" And then Edward says, "Well, we have learned that all is the universe, and I am the one." And then she laughs because I think she said, "I never thought they would take it that to heart," but she was impressed with their answer, so she starts training them. And, as you can see, they're learning martial arts, getting tossed around while she's learning a cookbook, which I'm going to probably just go out on a limb and say is a cookbook with all her alchemic formula. And there's someone in the chat here.
Because
nobody's on, but let's see. Namdi Arizert. Vun. Oh, it's you. Yeah, you're a bot. I'm like, it's you again. That's what she said last time under a different name. You are a bot, good sir. You are a bot.
Beep boop, honk honk, re, one of us, one of us.
Pretty much. I hate bots. Well, Vunran to you too, you stupid bot. But other than that, they're going through the training. They get their butt kicked by Izumi, and Izumi's saying, you have to make a alchemic circle to have the what was it? The matrix.
Yeah, you had to draw the perfect circle with a matrix on top of it in order to call upon alchemy ability. And of course, Alphonse, being the sharp little boy that he is, he's like, "But master, you only have to clap your hands to do it."
That was Alphonse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said. I said Alphonse.
I said Edward. My bad.
Yeah, but he's like, "But master, you only have to clap your hands together to do it." It's like, "Where's your matrix?" And she's kind of the tone in her voice changes, and she says, "Well, maybe I guess I became the matrix." And they're like, "Really? How did you do it?" And it's like, you'd understand once you see the truth. And then it cuts to Edward in his bed having a nightmare of I believe one of the bottom roots of the Sephiroth tree while when he's remembering those words. Because they kind of use the Sephiroth tree as the tree of alchemy in this which I believe one was based on the other, so kind of fits.
Yeah. Well, and it was because it closed on that center part of the Sephiroth tree, which I don't understand those Latin words, but he woke up and then he realizes, sort of like Alphonse and definitely like Edward, Izumi Curtis saw the truth. So they actually are outside with her, wanting to talk with her and knowing what she is. And then she has an idea already, and she claps her hands, takes out a spear, starts attacking both Alphonse and Edward with it. It gets really close to Edward to where she's almost going to cut Edward. Edward does the same thing, claps his hands and brings out the spear or the sword thing on his arm, and he cuts off the spear, and then she's like, you lost your arm and leg in transmutation, and that's why Alphonse is only his soul's in a body of armor. And they're like, "You knew?" She's like, "I knew once I sparred with you both."
She's basically a really crazy strong combatant, and you'll find out why later on.
Yeah, and as it continues, it's like later in the day. I'd have to say almost evening time. They're talking with both Sig and Izumi Curtis as they're sitting at the table telling him the story. The way Izumi Curtis found out the truth was her and Sig have children for the longest time, so they thought they were barren, were finally able to conceive one child, and then sadly Izumi Curtis got sick, and I'm going to say from the sounds of it, they had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
And so, as you do in the original, I shouldn't say as you do But as in the original anime, she takes the body of the baby, transmutes it to try to bring life back into the baby, and then you see the big eye of God come in, take her, and then, basically, I wish they would just say that's God, but as we know from the show, it's the truth, the white, pale faced look of the truth that she sees, and then it goes back, and then she comes back after seeing the truth, spits up a whole bunch of blood, and then Sid comes in worried about her because he heard everything that took place, and then, Izumi, who's actually excited but really desperate, looks at her baby, and her baby's nothing but a misshapen, misformed black blob of black body and bones on the ground that just looks like it's been charred to death. So nothing left really. And sadly, she starts screaming and freaking out about what happened. And she admits to her fault to do it. And then she's like, you were like me. You were sad. You were desperate. Is that why you did it? And then they're saying, no, well, no. We know what we did, but it was no big deal. I may have lost my arm and leg, but I'm still here. And Alphonse is like, yeah, and I've written down everything I want to eat. It's all good. And she comes in for a final embrace and says, it's okay to cry. It's okay to let go. And the episode ends with both of them just embracing her, saying that they're sorry and forgive us. And
you can
getting worked up thinking about it.
You can tell she's definitely kind of like a substitute mother. She took these kids in. She didn't. I guess maybe initially she didn't really expect much, but you can't have kids in your life for an extended period and not grow attached, especially after you lose your own baby. So in a sense, Edward and Alphonse are kind of like her children now.
Yeah. And I'm glad you made that distinction and reference. That's really good. And that basically is the plot for this episode. So again, characterization, meeting some new characters, and figuring out the drama, and getting a little bit more into the past of the Elric's lives and what they've done. Characters of note, there's not that many, but I think it's pretty darn obvious who the characters of note in this episode are. I would have to say that's Edward Elric, Alphonse Elric, and Izumi Curtis.
But I do have to give a little credit to Sid, because you can tell how madly in love he is with Izumi. Whenever she's coughing up blood, he's getting her off and holding her.
Yeah.
He's always concerned about her. He gives her advice. He's, for a guy who's always in the background, you see him, but you don't really hear from him much. He's just such an interesting character,
Yeah, I would definitely say he definitely is a dark horse character because he is always there for her. I usually go about it with lines, but as a character, you're right. He does do a lot for her, even though he doesn't have.
Plus, you can tell he's a very strong, capable person in a fight himself. The way he can catch those daggers and those knives she tosses with such ease.
Yep, that is very true. And going back to the three that I mentioned, and I like how Jarek mentioned that one too about Sid, because that is a nice mention in a way to bring Sid into it. But for me, Edward Elric, Romy Paku, Vic Mignogna, Alphonse Elric, Rie Kugamiya, Maxie Whitehead, and Izumi Curtis, Shoko Suda, and Christine Outen. Three great performances of showing, again, quite a bit of comedy, but when it's time for the emotion and the philosophical ways, the actors give it great. I mean, both Japanese and English shine in this one again. You felt bad for them. I am going to say, though, given our reactions, since Jarek and I watched this over the last 2 days, because we watched one version one day and then we watched the next version the next, I have to say I give the edge to this one a little bit more to the English dub, because the Japanese dub was sad. It got me to tear up a little bit. I was full on crying in the English dub yesterday because just that whole ending brought me to tears.
And I have to agree with him. The English dub took the cake, especially Izumi, with how she went from her normal, serious self to this quiet, refined, mournful, regretful version when she figures out what they've done, and the way she just gently holds them in her arms and tries to comfort them while knowing that this is always going to be a pain they're going to have in them.
Yes.
Her delivery was so subtle and spot on. I have to believe she's had some experience with motherhood at some point.
Yeah, Christine Alten, really great performance by her. I have to give her props. Really great performance from Christine Alten. Very worthy of that praise from Jarek there. And that's the characters pretty much in a nutshell. And because there weren't too many others that went down, and you guys heard from Jarek, he gave Sid that Dark Horse credit, which is very well deserved, I will say there, Jarek. So nicely done there too. And with the final thoughts, again, nothing that different that sticks up from the original. The thing that's different from the original is they went to see Azumi Curtis in the original before they were going to transmute their mother. By this time, they had learned alchemy and done what they're doing to get stronger. Because again, yes, Trisha Elric already died, but in many ways, it's like I think Trisha Elric was. Yeah, I think she was still alive with the. Or no, she was. Oh, actually, scratch what I'm saying. It's pretty much the same. There is no difference.
I have to say, though, I mean, we've had 2 back-to-back episodes where Vic Mignogna pulls off some amazing performances with Edward.
Yeah.
I mean, like, especially in that last episode when he was going from panicked to ecstatic to just kind of like this subdued, quiet, mournful regret, when Winry finds out his secret. And then in this one where we see him as a happy kid, desperate, and then all the way back to trying to quietly hold all that pain inside of him.
Yeah.
Very good, Vic. I mean, goddamn. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Vic is the only Broly. He is the only Crow. And dear God, people, stop giving him so much shit.
Yeah. Well, I don't think too many. Well, no, there is probably fan bases out there that give him crap, but I know there's a lot of people who, like us, believe that, it was over. He was acquitted of everything. He should be this ostracized, but hey, that's what Hollywood and people like us do. They eat their own completely, and hey. But to that note too, yeah, like I said, disregarded everything I said because it pretty much is the same episode. Not too many changes, but again, great on the character development, great on what happens. It was funny, it was sad, it made you feel good. So I mean, it's a pretty good episode. I give it a good thumbs up for episode 12.
I give it a big toes up too.
All right, and again, as always, since we're near the end here, what do you guys think? Would you like episode 12, or again, are you a fan of? Oh, sorry. Are you a fan of Brotherhood, or are you like an original elitist like myself, but also a fan of Brotherhood too? But just leave a comment down in the thing below and give a thumbs up if you want. Just let us know what you guys think. And until then, this is 012Boku.
Deuces, bitches.
Who are you?
I have no idea anymore. Where am I?
How
the hell did you kidnap me?
He's Jarek. I gotta make sure I give him his anti-Alzheimer's. Yes. Have a good night, guys.